Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will disappear, we survive physical death. When we aren't afraid of death, we are less afraid of life. From these episodes, I aim for all of us to take more risks in life, go after our dreams, have great relationships, and some fun in the process. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the book We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today on our show, I have the amazing Burge Smith Lyons. Burge is president and CEO of Essence of Being Incorporated. For more than 34 years, she has been involved with healing, learning, and educational environments. Burge has facilitated workshops for personal growth and corporate seminars since 1980. She has led private and public venues in self-development, relationships, and abundance for adults and children. She specializes in helping people identify their bubble talk, subconscious negative self-talk that blocks them from achieving what they want in life. Burge is distinguished by many modalities of learning she uses for personal growth and healing in her workshops. Her holistic mind-body-spirit approach includes conscious breathing, kinesiology, emotional release, energy release, psychotherapy, NLP, EFT, anger release work, channeling and superlearning, accelerated learning techniques that activate both the left and the right brain. Burge is a motivational speaker and trainer, intuitive healer, family counselor, and minister through the Universal Life Church and the Madonna Ministry. She is chairman and founder of the Healing Forest Foundation, Incorporated. It is a nonprofit organization that focuses on experiential learning and the shifting of outdated belief systems that contribute to physical, mental, and emotional illness for children. So I'm excited to dive into finding out about all of that. So welcome to our show to Burge Smith Lyons. Hello, Burge.
Hello. Wow, Sandra, that sounds really exciting. I'm like, I need to meet her. Who
Yeah,
is
and you
she?
know what? I bet there's more that you didn't even put in that bio.
Of course. Of course.
You
But,
sound
enough about
so
me.
nice. Enough about you. Oh no, I don't think so. This is all about you.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
are you right now? I'm in Massachusetts, the United States. Where are you
I am
sitting?
right at this moment in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. I was
Hmm.
just in Atlanta, Georgia.
You were?
Yeah, didn't know you were
Well,
there.
you didn't come
Good
by
luck.
to see me.
I
Yeah.
know, isn't that
Yeah,
rude?
that's where I hang my hat rarely, but I try to stay here as much as I can.
Yeah, nice
But
place
I've
to
been
be.
traveling the world doing my thing, so
That's awesome.
a lot of time. Yeah.
I'm really excited to learn more about you. But the first thing I ask is you have a different first name. I've never heard of a woman with the name Burge before. Is that your birth name that your parents gave you?
No, what happened is it's not a long story at all.
Yeah.
I was born with the name Deborah, and my maiden name was Burgess. So my best friend from 7th grade started calling me Burge, short for Burgess, and it stuck with me all through my life, and it became my stage name, and then it became my real name. And so that's what I've always gone by. No one calls me by my other name except my one brother, and that's it.
It's usually the family that does that because that's what they know you of. Okay, well now it makes sense. So I don't
Yeah,
have to have my little voice in my mind try to figure out should I ask you, shouldn't I ask you, what's it about?
sure.
Isn't that
Of course.
funny?
No.
It is
Yeah,
funny.
it's definitely a different name, but and when I do my workshops, I actually when we do I find that a lot of people change their names
I didn't
because
know
of
that.
different reasons, but I find that it has a different vibration, so that when people call me Deborah, it just invokes a different vibration than it does when I'm Burge. So, like I said, most people, 99.9% of the people in my life call me Burge. So when I do the workshops, I have people say both names when we're doing any kind of release work because it has a different vibration.
And we'll have to talk about a little bit more about that because I didn't at one point know what that meant, but you mentioned kinesiology in your list of uh,
Mhm.
things, and so we can
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about that because that's fascinating stuff.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
So the first question, Burge, I ask my guests is, because this is We Don't Die Radio, uh, first of all, do you believe in life after death?
Of course.
And the follow-up question is why? Have you had any experiences or stories or,
Oh my.
yeah. Well, this is
Yes.
and I know you're a presenter, so you know that stories are the thing that really make a difference. You can preach all you want on a subject, but when you start telling
Sure.
stories, that's when they stick and that's when they become truth and reality. So tell us, if you don't mind,
I
what
would love to.
what goods do you have in this area?
Well, the thing about life after death. Okay, so I, through my, I guess I was raised with a Presbyterian background as far as religion goes and spirituality, but I always knew that there was some other, something else more than what I was learning through that type of uh, dogma or religion. And
Hmm.
so I started searching for other different types of belief systems around that. And then what I found was that through all of the different personal development workshops that I've done and experience and that I teach now, what I find is that a lot of people have um, past lives, that I do past life therapy, I do past life regressions,
Right.
and the story that I'll tell about my own experience with this was, I feel that all the time. I'm an empath, and I feel other people's energies, and I feel different dimensions. And I didn't believe in this stuff either for the longest time. I was like, is this real or is this Memorex? You know, what is the deal here? Is this
Yeah.
a real thing or not? I mean, I'm making this up, right? But because I worked with thousands of people that have similar experiences, or that I can actually bring in to my space people that have passed on. I don't call myself a medium because I don't deal necessarily with fourth dimension, but I do deal with fifth dimension and beyond. And how it all started for me was I was teaching workshops. I was doing a lot of emotional release with people, past lives, doing Course in Miracles, Native American ceremonies, working with different types of modalities, quantum physics, Buckminster Fuller, um,
Wow.
all different types of places. Okay, very eclectic.
Right.
Different different thoughts, different new thoughts. Of course, law of attraction I've been working with for 100 million years, and thank goodness a lot of
Wow,
these
you
different
look young.
universal. I know, right? It's because of all the energy work that I do. No, basically, it's universal divine principles, right? So that I basically I studied a lot with different masters and started creating my own experiences. But the thing that was more personal to me that came into my life was I've had a lot of death in my life. I've had a lot of people that have died
Mm.
around me, and I've always been one to. I always believed that thought creates reality, and I've always believed that this is not the end. That we have other lifetimes, and there's something more than just this body that we live in. So, as I was teaching all of these things to children and adults, one night my father had passed away, and uh, again, I've had a string of deaths. So a lot of people have gone through the
Oh, I'm
veil, but
sorry. Yes.
my dad passed away, and so I grieved and I experienced all the emotional things that you experience around that. And then I did a ceremony, and this is a ceremony that I offer people to do around death. It's called a candle ceremony, and I did it myself. And what it is you light a white candle, and then you evoke the name of the person who's passed, and then you close your eyes. You look at the candle, and you see it starting to flicker. And as soon as it starts flickering after you call their name, you close your eyes and you just tell that person everything you wanted to tell them. My dad died suddenly, so I didn't feel complete. He died of a heart attack, so I wanted to tell him all these things that, I missed him, I was upset with him, I was angry, I was, is he okay? All those things that I
Yeah.
always wanted to share with him at that moment. So I basically talked to him and then shared everything I wanted to say, and then I said, okay, is there anything you want to say to me? Well, then, at that moment, I felt this energy come inside of me that was kind of strange. I
Mm-hmm.
felt really cold on the outside, but burning up on the inside. Cold on the outside,
Interesting.
hot on the inside. Right. And so I felt kind of weird. So I went over to the mirror and I looked in the mirror and I was seriously white as a ghost. I know why they say that now,
Yes.
because all the blood had rushed out of my body, it looked like. So I was vibrating at that point and realized, oh my gosh, when I asked for him to talk to me, I felt his presence. And I was like, okay, this is not what I meant. I didn't mean for you to come. This is too, I know. I didn't want this to happen. So I laid down in the bed and I was vibrating. And then the next morning, I had this peace and this serenity that I felt around his passing, and I felt complete. Okay.
Wow.
Now the candle, so that's when I started channeling. That's when all of this information started coming through to me, and I started owning it and practicing it and allowing it, and I became a trance channel.
Oh, you need to talk
Now,
about what that means.
okay, there are different ways of channeling. We're all channels. We all channel information, and we all bring in information from different thoughts, different dimensions, different places, in different ways. So a conscious channel is someone who, have you ever said to somebody something that really was impactful and prophetic and perfect for that person, and they really needed to hear that at that moment?
Yeah, and
And you kind of
usually
look,
it's followed with, I don't know where that came from.
exactly, and then you look around and you go, where did that come from?
Yes, uh-huh.
I have no idea why I said that or what that was about.
Right.
So that's a conscious channel, okay? But the more you do that, you can own it and say, okay, I trust it. I really trust that what I'm saying is perfect and for the highest good for whatever. So I totally trust that. So I do a lot of that in the workshops, but I don't trans channel, okay? So trans channel is a different way of channeling where you basically allow energy to come through, and they speak in, and I channel an energy called Shamanasta. And Shamanasta is a group of souls. And if you had talked to me about this, a long time ago, I'd be saying, this woman's crazy. But I didn't ask for this. I was like, I didn't ask for this to happen, but I allowed it because I thought, okay, if I can add value,
Sure.
then I'll allow this to come through. If this is really going to add value. So a trance channel leaves their body, and another energy. It's not like a what do you call it when they take over your body? What's that called? It's not like a
Oh, I know what you're talking
possession.
about.
It's not any of that kind of
Possessed.
stuff. It's not like possessed. No, it's
Possessed.
not that at all.
Right. Okay.
It's just energy and information and knowledge and experience and allowing that comes through, and I just speak in a different way, and I don't remember I don't remember any of it. So
Oh, that's
when I and
interesting.
so
So you really
yeah
are
when
out of there.
yeah, I'm out. Now, what I've learned to do since then, because I've been doing this for so many years, I've learned how to be here at the same time, but a lot of times I still leave so that I can get out of the way. Because a lot of times I still think, wow, why are they saying this? This is so strange. Why, I start questioning it. So
Hmm.
then I just leave again so that I can allow them to say whatever they need to say. So then I come back in my body, and there it is. So then we record it, and it's information that is very powerful, impactful, really just it's a group of souls of teachers that have, it's not about saying what people should do or anything like that, but it's very empowering for people to hear certain things. So it's not like a medium where I go into, let me talk to your grandmother. It's not exactly like that.
What was it like the
So
first time, Burge, when you
it freaked
s-
me out.
stepped out and you recorded it and you heard
I
what you
freaked
said?
out. I freaked out. I was like, are you kidding me? So my husband at the time, interestingly enough, who's still my husband, but at the
Oh,
time,
you made it sound like, well, he stepped out of the picture because you got a little too weird.
I know, right? And
Uh,
I believe me, I'm a corporate America. I mean, this is I live this dual life, although I've
yes.
merged them together, which is really really cool. But like I said, I don't do the trans channeling in my the workshops and the play shops and all the things that I do. I do that privately for people. But he was studying different dimensions, and he was studying all of these otherworldly kind of modalities at the time. So he really helped me ground. He's a grounding energy. He's really is very firmly stuck on the ground, on the planet, on the earth, and he helped me learn how to do this in a way that is easy for me to do. So
That's
yeah, it
wild.
freaked
And
me out.
God
So
love
he
him
he
for being
yeah,
like that, you know? It-
he was very, aware of certain things, but he was learning just the same time I was, but
right.
he was open to learning more about it.
That's great.
Yeah. So again, that to me was, and then I asked questions, or the people asked questions of Shamanasa. When we had the 2001, when we had 9/11, I had a whole bunch of group of people come to find out why that happened, and they give just different perspectives of why things are the way they are and what's happening in the world and what's happening with humankind, and just very, like I said, it just eases some angst and anxiety with people.
Is
Oftentimes they need some kind of support
is
like
there a
that.
general answer? I mean, I'm sure it's a big picture of what's happening and why, because there's some really brutal things going on this planet. And then 9/11 obviously was, there's no words for it, but I hate to ask you to sum it up. What did they say was the reason? But is there anything you can say that can just shed a little bit of light to give us a little bit of understanding?
Wow.
I,
That's a whole conversation in itself
yeah,
where, I mean, I wrote a whole article and almost a book around it because it made a lot of sense, and it just gave a different perspective that if you believe that we all choose our reality,
right,
and if you believe that we choose when we come here, when we're born, we also choose when we die,
right.
because we are conscious beings and we have a choice. And the hard part to understand around anything like that is, how could these people really choose to leave all at once? That's just,
It's mind
why would
blowing.
anyone,
No,
yeah, why
and
would anyone choose to have that happen to them? I mean, really, consciously, no one sits around and thinks about that and
that's a good
consciously
idea.
says
Leave our
that.
families and everybody that loves us, and
Right,
yeah, let's all do it
right.
together. No,
So they had a whole new perspective about, okay, look what happened since then, and what was happening with the we may be getting off subject here, but there's a whole nother um, opening, if you will, or a vortex that's happening with humankind right now, that we are morphing into another way of being. And unfortunately, because of the way human nature is or has been, sometimes it takes a lot of tragedy and a lot of, if you notice, people come together during a tragedy.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And so when you come together like that, it brings out the best in human nature. And what part of the reasoning behind a lot of the atrocities that are happening is it gives you a sense of um, a whole nother way of being, so that people become more compassionate. They become more connected. They become more open to finding new ways of being, so that those kind of things don't happen again.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Burge. I was having a conversation with another guest not too long ago, and trying to get a little bit of understanding about severe suffering, pain and suffering, because a lot of the stuff makes sense about picking this life and the things that we're learning from it, but there is a degree of pain and suffering that goes above all comprehension that I have. And she said something very interesting about those times that a person suffers, what it allows for, how it allows for other people to rise and be compassionate and make a difference. And so after we spoke, I started thinking about when my dad died. He was in excruciating pain. He had cancer, and I had to be there with the doctor's visits and just everything. But and it was just after that conversation, I was looking back at who I became out of his suffering was a Sandra that I never knew existed.
Mhm.
Strong, powerful, compassionate. I'm not a mother. I'm still single at 48. But I had this like protective instinct. And when people ask me what am I most proud of in my life, I actually say the time I was with Dad before he died. And I mean, I was no superhuman, but I
Mhm.
got to see just the depth of my compassion and love that I didn't know existed. So,
Exactly.
true or not, it's just what you're
Exactly.
saying now just sheds a little light about when severe tragedy happens, the uprise of people. It's pretty powerful. So, thank you for sharing that.
It's very powerful, and it shifts the vibration of human nature and humankind. And the other thing I'm going to say about death, that you just brought up something. When you are with someone who is passing away, I call myself a transition coach as well because I love birth, and I'm a doula, so I've been at many, many births.
Wow.
And the energy of coming into this world through birth is so magical and powerful, but it's the same energy when you leave it. Because I have been at quite a few passings of quite a few people leaving their bodies and going back into, going back through the veil, and they go back into the ocean of souls. And so uh, the energy of that, though, is exactly the same. It's
Interesting.
powerful. Yeah, it's very interesting because I've been at both ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between, and it's the same energy of coming and going. And therefore, I totally believe, and I get messages all the time from different dimensions and different places where people rise to and go to and come from. And so the fact that you did that with your dad is one of the most sacred works that anyone can do. Is bringing someone into the world and helping someone
Wow.
transition
I,
out.
I've never looked at it that way, that it was actually a gift for me. And out of
Huge.
that Burge came everything I'm up to now.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And that is something now some people believe that that's a contract that people have
Hmm.
when you're non-physical, that you have that kind of a contract when you become physical. So in that non-physical world, you create how you're going to come into the world, that you choose it at the time you're going to come in. And this is a lesson or a learning or something that you'd like to learn while you're here. I mean,
Wow.
I'm assuming that you believe in um, many lifetimes.
I do.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting how all of this, and again, this is kind of woo-woo for a lot of people, and I don't go too far into this, but in the play shops and the workshops that I do, but the thing about coming in and choosing when you're coming and when you're leaving is um, it was described to me as we're all connected all the time, and when you come into a body that you choose to come into at that moment, then you can re-trigger, or you have a cellular memory about these other times. And that's, a lot of people call that deja vu, or they call that cellular memory,
Right.
and you have these triggers that affect you. And so there's a lot of data and a lot of experience on that I've been involved with that absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is not our only life, and this is not our only. When you die, it's there's more to it. There is a spirit, there is a soul, there is something that uh, goes into the ocean of souls. Is the best way to
I
describe it.
love that expression, the ocean of souls. I haven't heard that either. Are
Well,
we
I'm just
still our
I'm glad I'm
I
I'm
no,
glad I'm
I love it. You're yeah, and I think it's perfect because um you can talk more of a mainstream lingo and you got
yes,
the woo-woo stuff and it's
yes,
interesting because where I was 15 years ago, I wasn't even open to this. I mean, there's a reason my book's subtitle is A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After
sure.
Death. I would have put you maybe in a category of she's a little out there, and
Oh yes,
I mean, I remember walking through bookstores and seeing some of the spiritual metaphysical sections and people in them, and I'm thinking, all these people need to get a life. That
cuckoo,
stuff's,
cuckoo.
it's nuts. But
Right.
one thing that really is attractive about I've got your bio right in front of me, so I'm looking at the words, is when you talk about the bubble talk. I think the skepticism for me was the negative voice inside of my head that bought into what my parents had said and how when I grew up, mediums and psychics and stuff, that was all frauds and scams. So
Sure.
there wasn't even a possibility of being open to it because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that all that stuff is junk. Like, that's not real.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
fine, I feel, that we're talking about it all now from mainstream to woo woo because um, sometimes just because I think for everybody, um, the skeptical mind will just pop up like, oh, like I was buying into this lady for a little while. Oh, but she just said this, and oh, I'm not so sure. And just for us all to realize that we have this self-talk that's going on constantly. It,
Well,
it
yeah, and
and if
that's
you
let
could
me
talk
tell.
about
Yeah,
that.
let me tell you about the bubble talk. What if you can imagine a cartoon character that has a bubble above their head,
Hmm.
and this cartoon character has the bubble up there. That's what they think. That's their unconscious belief system. Now they could be saying one thing like, "I want a red Mercedes. I want a healthy relationship." I
Right.
have these conscious thoughts, but their unconscious belief systems or their bubble or their bubble talk is something like, "I don't deserve it.
I'm not good
I'm
enough.
unwanted. I'm not good enough. I'm not
Uh-huh.
worthy." All of those types of belief systems that we take on as our own, just like our genes are handed down from our physical genes are handed down, so are our emotional genes. So we have all of these belief systems that are handed down to us through our parents, through religion, through TV, through culture, through our teachers, and they were handed down, and then they were handed down, and they were handed down. So we take them on as real,
Right.
and we take them on as saying this is who we really are, but they're unconscious. So the kind of limiting beliefs that we have that can keep us in a place where we don't really want to be is that bubble talk, is the conscious parts of us might be saying, it's like driving a car. It's like the conscious part of us is pushing the gas, and that's our desire. That's what we want. That's what we choose. We
Hmm.
say we want $1 million. We want to
Right.
be happy. We want blah blah blah, and then the break is the resistance. That is the belief that we can't have it. It is the belief that we're not good enough, and all those types of unconscious belief systems that run us. So when you put your brake and your gas on at the same time, it spins your
There's a
wheels.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you get stuck. And so why I work with children and adults doing this is I help people let go of the resistance or the break, because we all know how to let go of our desire. We all know how to settle. We all know how to let go of what we really want.
Right.
So I try to help people see there's another way to do it where they can actually let go of the brake, not their desire. They can let go of their resistance or their bubble talk. And so I would say, what's in your bubble, you know? And what we do is we go to that unconscious belief system that runs people. So it's like if people do affirmations, I call them little lies we tell ourselves until they become true.
Say that again.
Affirmations are little lies that we tell ourselves until they become
Oh,
true.
little lies.
They're
Yeah.
lies,
It's like
little lies.
yeah, it's like smiling for 30 seconds and you'll be happy, or
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
as
It's like,
if you already
uh-huh,
have something and then you become that. But you
right.
first
And
have
it's
to
like,
identify what the one would
bubble
think,
talk is. Hmm.
yeah, that if I want to be powerful, but I'm not producing any results in my life and I'm shy and all this stuff, but I think I'm doing the best I can. The first thing you'd have to do is identify those limiting negative beliefs
Absolutely.
before you
And
can.
once you identify them, now you could do something about it. That's why we bring it up to a conscious level
Right.
so that if it's not serving you, then you can shift that and release those and bring in a new belief. And you start reframing that from every angle, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, and you say, okay, I'm going to shift that belief because that's not mine anyway, and it's really not working for me. So I'm gonna I'm gonna take on a new belief,
Is
just
there
like
any
trying on a new pair
example?
of shoes.
Is there any example you can give us, and maybe that's too tough to do to, like, of I mean, it's clear that if something's not working in our life and we
Hmm.
think we're doing all that we can, I don't think, I mean, it's not, may not be clear, but it's possible that we have some negative self-talk going on. We've got the bubble talk that we're not aware of. But once you become aware of what it is, say you've got the bubble talk of I don't matter, how
Uh-huh.
would you impact that on those different levels? Like you said, physical,
Right. Our mind doesn't know the difference between an actual experience and the one that's imagined.
right?
So if you are saying, if you find out, if we dig down and we dig out, poke around with a stick and find out that your belief system is I don't matter,
You know why I brought that up, right? Because that's mine.
yes,
I've
or it
identified
was,
it, but it's
it
not always.
was, it was your limiting belief
It was. So we
that
speak
this,
in past tense,
hmm
right?
that's right. So if your limiting belief has been that you don't matter, and also I suspect, I really don't know your background or anything, but part of you might be the belief system is, usually if you don't matter, it also, you could have something of being unworthy,
Hmm.
um, and
Single at
that
48,
you're
never being in a
invisible, blah, blah,
long-term
blah.
relationship. Not that I'm asking. Yep,
Unwanted. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So
Not good
if you
enough.
have a
It's all
belief,
it's all in there. Yeah.
yeah. So
It
if you
was
have a
all in
belief,
there.
once you've identified that bubble and you say, okay, I'm unwanted or I don't matter and I'm not important, okay,
Right.
and I'm unworthy. So what you do is there's so many different techniques on how to change it. So the first part is you shift it to the positive, which sounds really simple, and it is,
Like I do
but not
matter.
so easy.
I am good
Pardon?
enough. I do matter.
Yeah.
I am good enough. Yes.
And I am worthy, okay, and
Affirmations.
I'm
Yep.
wanted. Now,
Right.
those are the affirmations. Now, what happens with those affirmations, there's a lot of different ways to allow them to um, consciously you shift it so that the mental part of it is just a reframe. So one of the techniques I use is, you can put whatever the affirmation is, and you put it up on your mirror, and you look at it every day, and you cut up little index cards. Have you heard
Hmm.
this before?
No.
Okay, so you put a little index card up on your mirror. Let's say your new affirmation, the new belief system that you want to take on as real, is I am worthy, I am wanted, and I matter. Okay,
Yep.
so you put that up on the mirror on an index card, and then you take another index card and you cut it up into little squares, and then you put those little squares all over the place on your rear view mirror, on your computer, on your kitchen, your refrigerator, on your TV, all the places that you might look at. And so what happens is your subconscious actually, when you see that little square, you say that affirmation to yourself. So
Interesting.
it
Okay.
subconsciously brings it in over and over and over and over, so that the unconscious, you start reframing it into, and it goes into that subconscious belief. So it becomes a pattern interrupt that you can say to yourself, "Oh, I do matter. Oh, I am good enough. Oh, I am worthy." And you look at that, and every time you look at it, you say it to yourself. So
Burge,
it's a repatterning.
I want to just break in just for a second, just a little interruption. It's not a commercial break by any means, but for our listener, like so I still have my skeptic mind going on, and I can imagine somebody listening right now with what the heck does this have to do with life after death? And what I want to say is a big part of this show is evidence that life after death is real, and I am all about empowering every single one of us to live the best life while we're here. So this isn't a psychotherapy session on Sandra. I would request, if you're willing, to be looking at your own life. You might not have an I don't matter or I'm not worthy, but you might have a I'm unlovable, or you might have something. But just put yourself in the shoes of, and listening from that point that we all do have something. And by the end of this episode, my goal is that you have a tool or two in your toolbox that can really empower you, because ultimately I and Burge want you to be living the life of your dreams. So this isn't just listening on Sandra's psychotherapy. How's that sound? Because it
That's
is all
perfect.
about, because I want that moment. Burge, we often hear that moment when we close our eyes on earth the last time, it's usually filled with fear, filled with regret, fear filled with I should have done this, I shouldn't have said this. And what would it be like to play full out? And then that moment that we close our eyes here and open them up in the hereafter, that you look back like, yeah, I went for it. And it's these tools that you're talking about in distinguishing the bubble talk and going after what we want in life. I mean, this is the keys to the kingdom. So I'm just asking people if you're willing to play along and, put yourself in, even though she's talking to me.
That's perfect.
Okay,
That's
back to
perfect.
you.
And even though, and then some of you listening might say, well, I don't have any issues, or I don't have any belief systems that have stopped me, and that might be true. But some of these belief systems that we have heard are and believe are embedded
Mm.
in our consciousness, such as, I'll give you an example: blank is the root of all evil.
Money.
What's the answer? Right. Money doesn't grow on.
Trees.
Yeah. That person is filthy.
Rich.
Okay, so those consciousness, I mean, everybody can fill in the blank.
Right.
So it's in our consciousness. So even though we may feel like, we have a pretty good life, and we had a great childhood, and we
Yeah.
had this and that, and our beliefs are working for us, there's still that consciousness that's there that people tap into when we have adversity or when something happens to us. So I wanted to put that out there too,
Thank you.
that, what you hear when you're young, of course, there's these big people, and these big people tell us these things that we think are real and true. And so we take them on as beliefs that it's true about us. And so as soon as we identify, like you've done,
Hmm.
identify that some of these beliefs really aren't working for us, then I'm giving you different techniques of how you can really shift them. And we do a lot of emotional release, and we go to the trauma, or we go to the place where people have been before, where they felt unwanted or they felt like they weren't good enough, and we move through that so they break through it. So part of my chapter in the book that we're all in together is break down, break through, break free. And so many of us grow through breakdown. And breakdown in a marriage is divorce, right?
Right.
Breakdown in health is being sick. Breakdown in a job is you lose your job or go bankrupt, or a business.
Right.
So people grow and learn and open up to more of that. So I really help people work through. Let's not do the breakdown as much as do the breakthrough and the break free
Hmm.
of these belief systems. And again, they could be coming from not just your parents. It could be other lifetimes. These belief systems can go so far back that you have no clue why you believe the way you believe. And what I always say is the most powerful force that we have is what we say to ourselves and believe. So that's why we
Yes.
even bring up the bubble talk or bring up belief systems, is because if you don't believe it, it isn't going to happen.
Right.
And here's the thing: if we ever heard, I'll go back to the rich part because a lot of people have money. I speak to the abundance and prosperity part a lot, because if you heard that rich people were bad or evil or always out for themselves or don't take care, don't care about anybody else, then why would you want to become one of them? If rich people are takers, why would I want to be one of them?
Right.
That would mean I wouldn't be liked or loved. And so that is a belief system that limits and blocks you from becoming who you really are, or what you really deserve, what your birthright is.
Hmm.
So yeah, so the it all kind of fits together about the emotional part of this, the spiritual connection that we have, reframing it on a mental level, which will absolutely, you start accumulating new evidence on a physical level that you are wanted,
Do
you
you
are
know,
loved.
it's interesting because somewhere on one of the courses I took, um, I distinguished the I don't matter and I'm not good enough and all that stuff. And I actually had to list my successes on a piece of paper. Well, it
Hmm.
took up 3 pieces of paper. And
That's awesome.
I'm looking and it was, I don't know if this is part of the reframing or not, or whatever you call it, but I'm like, there's no evidence that I don't matter. And there's tons of evidence that I do. And
That you make a difference,
that I
right?
make a difference. And it's, for whatever reason, the bubble talk or the subconscious mind still wants to pull for the negative.
Yeah. Well, it's because here's the difference. You could sit there and mentally figure that out,
Hmm.
but if most of this belief system is emotional, it is an emotional, but it's in your body, it's in your emotional body and your spiritual body. So the mental body can understand it and go, well, that's silly. Of course I make a difference. Look at all this
Yeah, look
stuff.
at all that.
Look at everything
Right.
I did. So, but the emotional part, or the little girl, the little Sandra, or the little person inside of us, that's the part that wants to be healed or wants to shift out of what they learned at such a young age. And it's my belief that none of us really need to be healed, because I feel like we all are perfect, really, just the way we are. It's
Hmm.
just that we forgot that. It's just somewhere along the line, somewhere along the way, whether this lifetime or another, we forgot. We forgot that we are innocent and loved and wanted and perfect, and that we do make a difference and we matter and we are important. And
Wow.
yeah, we just forgot. And so what I do is I just hold up a mirror and say, remember, remember you are. And that's part of why I created the Healing Forest Foundation, which is a Native American term.
I like
It,
it.
it, what the whole concept, real quick, is the healing
Sure.
forest. If you take a sick tree out of a sick forest and you nurture it and you bring it back to health and you stick it back into a sick forest,
It's gonna get.
it could get sick again.
Yes.
So what we tell people is, look, create a healing forest around you, a people of like mind, of conscious mind that will remind you of how powerful you are, that will remind you of all the lessons, that won't let you buy into your own bull, like go into your little pity
Yes.
party, that will hold you accountable to the magnificence of who you are. So that's when you create a healing forest around you, it makes things a lot easier, simpler, and more connected in that way. And so that's why
I
I created the Healing
love
Forest
that. Is
Foundation.
that for children?
Children and adults, yes. The Healing Forest Foundation is a nonprofit, and what we do is we work with teenagers and children from 6 years to 17. 6-year-olds to 17-year-olds, and we help them with these philosophies and work through their self-esteem, help them communicate better, help them trust themselves more, trust their parents more. We give communication techniques to their parents so that they can tell their truth and actually be heard both ways. So it's not just a one-way communication.
Wow.
So we open up a whole other level for these children to really be empowered. And so I always kid around when I do my kids' workshops. I say I'm putting myself out of business because,
Yes.
all the adults that come to me that do all the adult workshops, I call them play shops.
That's funny.
If we had learned all of this when we were young, just think of where we'd be.
Oh, but I really want to acknowledge you because where this is going, and I've even seen just, one person, young or older, that gets it, and then what they turn to do. Because, um, like I was just having this picture, if all of us could just spend one day without the judgment and with just living in, I'm perfect just the way I am. That
Hmm.
would free up so much of our time because I think we spend so much time either beating up on ourselves or
Hmm.
we're in whatever going on in our brain that we've turned to the ice cream or we're watching TV or zoning out on the computer. But if we
Hmm.
really got that we are perfect just the way we are, I think a new power would arise. We'd get a heck of a lot more done. Um, I think freedom would be wonderful. Like I can't even imagine. So that's
Well, imagine it because it's
it's
real
possible.
and really possible because on a daily basis, when I work with people and the kids and the adults, it's like a newfound empowerment. And I'll have teenagers and adults come up to me all the time. They say, "You saved my life," and it's like, wow, wow. Just be able to say that they shifted so much that now they have tools and a new experience and a new belief of themselves. And you know what? It's never too late to heal. It's never too late, and it's never too early. So to be able to really dive into that and be empowered and know that you really do make a difference. And it's funny that you say that because that is the most important thing that I offer people in any of the work that I do is I really, really have a strong desire so to let them know that they make a difference in this world and to never give up on themselves
Oh,
because they matter and they're important. And without them, the world is a different place
that's so
and not
true.
a, yeah.
It's
So
so
my
true.
favorite story about this is It's a Wonderful World. It's a Wonderful Life, which is the Jimmy Stewart
Right.
Christmas film. And he realized he thought his life really sucked.
Hmm.
He thought, everybody would be better off if he hadn't been born. And then what happened is he got to see the angel came down and showed him what the world would be like without him in the world. And he got to see how much of a difference he really made in the world,
Hmm.
and not just to his own family, but to the entire town. The whole entire town changed because he wasn't there. And so he got to live again and see really what a wonderful life he really had and how much he makes a difference. So it's one of my favorite
It's great. And
stories.
we often use, a lot of people say if they could have one dream, what would it be? And they say peace on earth. And that all sounds kind of, oh, wouldn't that be nice? But impossible. And it's interesting because I have this sneaky suspicion that if we all really lived knowing that we matter, not having the negative judgments, really living in love, I think the natural expression for all of us would be how can I serve? How can I make a difference with others? And if we all were spending our time, our free time, because I know we have to work and stuff, well, even our work can be, finding our little niche of how we can make a difference with others. Number one, it feels phenomenal. You know that every time you make a difference in somebody else's life. But also, I think we could clean up the world pretty fast if
That's
we all got
that's
it.
I agree. I agree. That's why I do what I do, and that's my mission, and that's my goal for being here and allowing all this. And one of my favorite things I say is trust and allow and don't ask how.
Trust. I gotta write that down. Trust and
Trust and
allow.
allow, and don't ask how.
Wow.
Because so many of us are afraid to act or to make a difference because wonder if I fail or wonder if I'm judged or wonder if I can't do it. And I also say if I can't, I must. And so if you find yourself saying I can't very much, then say I must.
Yeah,
If I can't do it, I must do it.
that's this may sound really silly, but I have my high school reunion coming up, 30 year,
Cool.
and
Cool.
everything in my system is don't go. Why? Because I never lost the weight. I was big in high school. I'm big now.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
single, no kids. The I don't matter's kicking in. Doesn't matter that I have a best-selling book and a radio show and, speak on stages. No, because all the other stuff. And so, a friend of mine just challenged me last night. He's just like, when are you going to start listening to your own advice? And he says the best thing you could possibly do if you were scared of anything is step into it. That's how you're going to grow.
Hmm.
So it's just
If
like,
I can't, I
oh,
must.
if I
I
can't, I
think
must. I'm like, oh, I'm going
if
to
I
the
can't, I
reunion.
must. Trust and allow, and don't ask how, honey. Just go.
Go to the
Listen,
reunion. Isn't that
ninety
funny?
percent 90% of empowerment is just showing up.
Oh, that is so funny.
It's just show up because you never know
Never.
what you never know what is going to come out of it's called precession. 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 It's from Buckminster Fuller.
What does that mean?
And precession means the effect of bodies in motion on other bodies in motion. It's the
Oh,
effect of the effect of bodies in motion on other bodies in motion. As long as you're in motion, you have an effect. The minute you stand still, you have no effect. It's like when you throw a stone into the water,
mm-hmm.
it's a body in motion and it creates a ripple effect. Just like the moon and the earth
Yeah,
are two bodies in motion, they affect each other.
right.
And so it's sort of when he describes it as the bee wakes up, the bee goes for the nectar every day. It wakes up and goes nectar, 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 nectar. But the true purpose of that bee is not to go get the nectar. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, the true purpose of that bee is to cross-pollinate. But the bee doesn't get up every morning and say,
Cross pollinate,
I'm
cross
going to go
pollinate.
cross-pollinate today. It says nectar, 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 nectar. So it goes for the goal, but it's creating a huge impact and a huge effect. So it may never know its true purpose. But Bucky said we're like that. We're like these little money bees and these love bees. We go for a goal, but we never really know what kind of effect we're having necessarily. Some of us may get to see the effect, but as long as we are moving and adding value, then the effect we have adds value.
I heard Mike Dooley say once about the law of attraction, and he was saying so many people keep visualizing their dreams coming true, whatever that is. And of course nothing happens, and he says, you're wishing for the man of your life to show up, but you're staying at home. You're waiting for the pizza man. What's happening? And he was saying, just imagine setting our goals kind of like you just jumped into your car and you turn on your GPS and you program where you want to go. And he says, all that's well and good, but what do you have to do? You have to start driving. You have to get into action. You have to take actions correlated with that person you wish to become. And certainly if you get off course, what does the GPS do? Recalculate. But along the journey, there's all kinds of gifts that come, there's all kinds of new adventure, and you'll get put back on course. So it's just what you're saying to me is just the important thing is to take the action, and you just don't know the ripple effect.
Yeah, and if you don't move, if you don't have any kind of movement, then you don't add any value.
Right. Oh,
So
I love that.
as long as you're moving, you're adding value. As long as what you're doing adds value, then your effect will add value. So that's what
Yes.
I mean by just showing up. If you just show up, you're going to add value.
Well,
Just by the simple fact that you show up,
yeah.
you make a difference.
Well, even at the high school reunion example, I found out so many of the. I didn't know too many people in high school. I was kind of a loner, had a couple of friends, but that's it. And there's this whole community on Facebook that I went to high school with that I really didn't know. And come to find out, one lady wrote to me today. She's heard every radio show I've have, which she spent almost 2 days listening. Right, that's how many I have, and so many others have supported me with the book, have read my book, and everything I post, they share with the bits of inspiration. And I had no idea. And so, like, that goes right against my I don't matter, right? It's like challenging that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'll go to the reunion.
Yeah, please do.
Okay,
Listen,
thanks.
listen to this. Courage equals commitment plus doubt plus action. Even so, when you have courage, you have the components that make up courage is you're committed, even though you have doubt, even though you have self-doubt and you're taking a risk, but you do it anyway.
Right. Thank you. And it's
That's courage.
extremely inspiring. And it truly is only when we can, I think, step into our fears and do those things that are new and different that we have new and different results.
Yeah, I see you meeting somebody really cool at your reunion,
Okay, I'll keep you
actually.
posted. Burge, our time is coming to an end. I'm looking at the clock. I thought,
Okay.
where did that happen? Is there any, we're going to get into how people can find out more about you and what you do because, I want to know more. I'm dying to go to your website right now. But is there anything else that you need to say that you skipped over? Or, I mean, I know there's worlds of things you could say, but anything that you missed that you just want to get out either by life after death or something to get somebody on track today, or we might have covered it because we've got a lot, but any
Yeah, we
final
have.
comments?
I'll just say, I'll say two things. One is the only failure is the failure to participate. So if you're afraid to fail, you already have. So I would say if there's something that you want to do in your life and you want to be in your life and create, the only failure is the failure to participate. As long as you're participating, you're not failing because you're learning.
Wow.
And the other thing I want to say is what you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on creating what you want, or are you focusing on the fear and losing and what risk you're taking, just kind of notice what you focus on because it gets bigger and bigger and expands.
Good or bad,
And
right?
like that. Pardon?
Good or bad.
Exactly.
If you look for evidence that somebody is the way
Yep.
they are, you're going to
Yep.
just keep on
You're
saying
going to
that.
find it.
Yeah.
You're going to, yeah. So you can look at me. You can come to any of the workshops I'm doing anywhere around the world. And one of the websites to go to, or the best one, is essenceofbeing.com,
Okay.
and that's essenceofbeing.com. And you can check out my schedule and see where I'm going to be because I'm traveling all around the world. Next year I'll be in Asia a lot and in
Wow.
Canada. But the U.S. I'll be in off and on throughout next year. I haven't posted all of that, but essenceofbeing.com is the best way to reach me, and bubbletalk.net.
Bubbletalk.net. And for our listener too, if you go to we don't die radio.com, you'll see a picture of Burge Smith Lyons, and also the links that she just mentioned I will have as clickable links that you can click on um, and go right to her website. Burge,
Cool.
big gigantic hug, kiss on the cheek
Yeah,
just from a
you too.
distance.
I can't wait. I want to hear about your reunion,
Oh
and
my gosh.
definitely I'd love to have you come and play with me sometime.
I
That would be
would
so much fun.
love to because we're just like-minded souls,
Yep.
and there really is a huge piece of knowing that this life isn't it. There's a much bigger picture. And I do believe that we are these eternal souls having a human experience. You hear so much that there's this magical, powerful realm in heaven that we're these divine souls, but we still must be those divine souls right here. So in order to have our dreams come true and go after what we want in life, you just offer so many great tools to really wake us up to who we are. And I love that. So I'm really thrilled that we got to spend this time together.
Thank you,
Thank
Sandra,
you
and
again.
you as well, honey. Thank you.
Yeah. And for I usually like to leave with a quote, but I wrote down so many that you said. How about we go with trust and allow and don't ask how? I love
Perfect.
that. And also just remember to stay in action. And then there will be a result. So thank you to our listener. Thank you for spending this time. I hope it's brought a smile to your face and some insight into your life. And not just using the insight, but maybe could you, and I will too, make an agreement to take some kind of an action. So as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm going to go sign up for that reunion. And I invite you to step into maybe a fear as well, or some bit of courage. Take some action is what I'm asking. So this is Sandra Champlain. I've been your host on We Don't Die Radio.com. I do believe that life is an education for the soul, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we do matter, and your life and mine